Now, it's Kathleen Casagrande interviewing Janice Muir here, and because of changes in our world of recent times and continually every day changing with this coronavirus experience that we're all going through, it's timely that we've changed or redirected Janice's writing retreats. So I'm interviewing her today based on some of the questions that we've decided together. So Janice now has decided with messages from the universe,
Good way to put it, yeah.
a more personalised approach or a process that she's decided now to create, and I'm liking it, actually. I am actually liking it, Janice.
Thank you.
Now, what impact does this situation around the coronavirus have on those retreats you have been marketing up to this point?
Well, as everybody knows, the impact is around our personal space. It's also around just the impact of if somebody has a cold. And it may not necessarily be coronavirus, but everybody wants to feel safe and protected. So the idea to change the direction slightly at the moment is just the interim period, because I will still do something down the track. But at the moment, I can see a way forward that can help you still, but it will be a little bit slower pace and something for your own awareness, and then get a little bit more clarity for that actual retreat if you still wish to join us.
So if the viewing audience is serious about getting their book written, what can they and you do or prepare them to make a start?
I've actually had the foresight to create a 5-day challenge, and I've done this in Facebook. And the first experience of this has been quite significant in attendance, but I can see the potential is that it can actually grow more. So a 5-day challenge where we share steps, one day, one lesson at a time, and we move through bringing you that little bit of extra awareness around those preliminary questions that we need to ask ourselves to get our book into motion.
So Janice, what happens for the individual when they're on their journey to author their book, and you've got a healing through writing process, I think you mentioned.
Healing through writing is very significant. It's a very easy process. However, one also needs to be mindful that when we're writing it out, we're taking the whole motion of it through the hand. Now, if you're typing it out, that's okay. But it's about going through that process in a way that we challenge ourselves for what was actually happening to be able to get the story into a format that is able to be inspiring to the reader.
It's still that energy going through the hands, out of the heart, through the hands, and out onto paper or the screen.
Correct.
So what's one thing the new author could do in preparation to get started then?
Great question.
Yes.
What's look, there's probably several things.
To talk about hints and tips and things.
Look, depending on the person that I'm speaking with at that point in time, I tend to be able to energize where they may be at it and share with them, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And in this instance, I'll share one of the main significant things that if you feel you have 3 stories and you don't have any idea where to start, consider to get yourself a journal, and get a journal that is actually significant to you. You feel connected to it, because you're going to be writing from your heart dot points into that journal as a way of capturing the concept of what your story is about. Now,
is it a big... When you say journal, some people have little notebooks. Some
doesn't have to be any bigger than that.
Okay.
just a
Because
standard
I've got one
A4 journal.
upstairs
Yeah.
that I've been busting to use, but it's heavy. It's got butterflies on it,
Oh.
and it's a hard cover, and it's really pretty, but it's too big. It's
Yeah.
heavy.
Something that is going to be very versatile to be able to use, carried with you wherever you go, a place where you just, there's a thought, X, Y, Z, you're
While
able
you're
to do.
driving.
Not so much while you're driving,
pull up.
but pull up,
Pull up,
please.
you turn the motor off, you take your seatbelt off, and then you start riding.
Correct. Because the reason is sometimes the thought has to come through and we have to get it out. And by putting it inside the journal, it's merely a prompt that when we go back and look at the journal for all of the things that have happened, it's a trigger point to actually prompt you to actually think about, I remember that bit. Okay, I wrote this then. If I think about that, this, and this happened. This is why the journal is very important, because this process is not a quick fix. It's not something that you can just do overnight. So, for instance, I had somebody come to me just recently and they said, look, I've got 3 stories. I said, well, get a big enough journal that you break it into 3 segments. You tab it so that when you're in story A, you put story A dot points down. When a thought comes through and it's in story B, then you go to story B. Story C, logical. But it just gives you a place to let this out. And once letting it out, that's when you start to open up and more will come.
So you're locating a journal to keep to yourself. What about plotting out your timeline of events? That's what you mentioned, I suppose.
Yes, that's a completely separate process. The journal is for the prompts, the ideas. Something comes. You go and note that down. But your timeline of events, when we are looking to share the story around your journey, what you've experienced, trauma, you may have experienced illness, you may have experienced a range of things. The timeline of events is to keep it in date order or to keep it in a logical order so that when we bring that into the story, we have a rise and fall of what was happening and your reader can be engaged with you. So when your timeline starts from birth, we segment it out first 3 years, 5 years, sometimes it can be 10 years apart. But it's being able to remember all those things that actually happened and dot point out 3 things for each step so that they, again, another prompt, and then you can correlate that back into your journal.
Okay. So, look, this mightn't happen in one afternoon. No. but it could happen over a period of weeks or months or maybe a year. What then, Janice?
Look, for me, it actually took a good 12 months for me. Once I made the decision I was going to write and bring out my story, I plotted it all out, but then I parked it for 3 years. So the beauty of doing the work, and then when you're in the better space, when you're in a place that, it's now time, you've got all of this information ready to use. Right. And that's been the bonus for me and why I know that I can share this journey with you so that it will help you. Hopefully you won't park it for 3 years. Hopefully we will look at being able to help you get this done in a shorter period of time, but it's not going to be overnight.
So this process or program that you're designing, ideally it could be self-paced.
Totally. Look, the idea of...
Life happens.
Life happens, yeah. The idea of what has happened around this coronavirus hasn't stopped me, but the creativeness about being able to bring this into step by step course so that can take you on a self-paced journey to be able to get things done. Now, I'm in the process of bringing this together. It's going to be easy, but it's also going to challenge you in ways to bring your story out. And I'll put some videos up to help you walk through each little area.
Okay, step by step. So what's your future plan though for Janice? What with regards to this online course, your plan to help budding authors to have a structure to author their book. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. The bottom line is I'm here to help and mentor you if that is where you want to go. If you want to keep the consistency, the focus, keep the drive alive to make certain that this keeps happening. Because you'll have segments where you'll do 3 months and something will happen, life will get in the road, and then you'll go, okay, there's time again. And I can mentor you through that period of time to keep your momentum, keep the alignment, so that we end at the goal that you're aiming for. Mm-hmm. That's the crucial element.
Okay, so Janice, where do people connect with Janice Muir to learn more?
Janice Muir is probably best found with Write with Janice Muir, my business page on Facebook. And LinkedIn, I have a profile there just called Janice Muir. Drop me a message and I will get back to you.
Website?
Yes. Good point. Website is janicemuir.com. It's in the development stage, but it is live. So, yeah, that's where else you can find me.
Excellent, Janice.
Perfect.
Yeah, good. Look, thank you for your time and sharing with the audience more about your gifts of what you're wanting to share with the world. And what a great time to be able to, you're forced to stay at home. A lot of people have found themselves, no, I won't say stuck at home. It's just a fantastic opportunity to get stuff done or your work done or your inner growth done and blame it on the virus. Even though
we can blame it
fine.
on the virus.
Yeah.
Look, I was listening to a webinar this morning by a gentleman who was being interviewed by 2 Australian people, Jeff Slater and I can't think of the other lady's name, but it was Scott Oldfield from Canada and now living in USA. And he actually made the statement where he said, it's time. It's time to get all of those things that you haven't been doing in the past. It's now time to sit and get that book written. Primarily to support and to share with people what you do, and people can see where your journey has been to be the person that you are.
There you go.
So in the other thing that I'm going to offer to our readers, to our listeners today, is that I have brought together this little ebook, which I will put the link in the comments in that below, and you're able to download this. It gives you 5 basic tips of why to get your book written.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Janice. Thanks for your time.
You're
and
welcome.
I look forward to the next video.
Yes, we're on to it.
We are.
Thank you.